What's happening, people? I hope you're well. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the channel, should I say. We're on Lead Judges TV with Lead Judges. Oh, no, we're not. Lead Judges is still on Forever Arsenal because he's taking forever. That's why they call it Forever Arsenal, because it takes forever. No, I'm only joking, of course. It's a great podcast. He is joining us. He's told us to start and he'll be on very soon. So I'm your host, Dan Potts, and I'm with Tom Canton tonight. How you doing, Tom? You all right, bruv?
Yeah, not bad. Still reeling from the weekend, but not bad.
You look very like you're on the beach, but like Arsenal. You know what
I've
I
been
mean?
to the beach, mate,
Have
today.
you,
Yeah, I had
mate?
a day off
Oh,
today.
good.
Yeah, went down
It's
the. I
been lovely, isn't
say,
it? The weather's been lovely.
yeah. Unfortunately, today though, it was cloudier than I thought, and there was a moment where I got halfway down the front, and I was like, I think this is brave. It still might be brave now, jumping on a podcast. At the mercy of the chat. I think I'm going to be brave, if anything, but still, you've got to take the opportunities in England when you get them. So.
Fair play to you, man. Fair play to you. Listen, we're going to talk about the game and the season because this one for me, Tom, it wasn't really um, a must win as far as I was concerned because I thought the title was over anyway. But it was a must win to put as much pressure as possible on Man City. Now, it turns out, even if we did win, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But it was a disappointing weekend for many reasons. And I saw you, mate, and we had a bit of a chat. It was very difficult because I had a American chap hanging off of me for most of the night, and so did you. Getting very, very drunk. Big up Mike Feinberg from the Goodness podcast. But I didn't get to talk to you much, mate. But you, I imagine, knowing the person that you are, were very frustrated by the performance. And I just wanted to get your opinions on, first of all, the team lineup, because a lot of bizarre decisions, as far as I'm concerned, I called them bizarre. But some would say experimenting, some would say trying something new, and some would say they've all played there before. They know what they're doing. So I wanted to get your take on it, man, because Mikel Arteta has made a few changes there with Partey at right back, Kivior at left back, leaving Tierney on the bench, playing Jorginho in the middle, who, to be fair, looked to just be left exposed for quite a lot of the game, to be fair. The whole of our left side changed with the injuries to Zinchenko and Martinelli. Looked to have a really poor game on that side, invisible in parts, Xhaka and Trossard. So wanted to get your opinions, bro. What did you make of it? It was a bit disappointing, bro, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really frustrating. We could have played for another however many games and probably still not scored. And Nottingham Forest played it perfectly, defended well, whatever. But I was really, when I saw the lineup, it was a case of wow, you are sticking your neck on the line here, Mikel. In terms of this team, and you're going to fall on your sword if it doesn't work out. And it perplexes me sometimes, the team selections, because he'll stick with something for a while and then change it up, and then if it's not working, it will change it up again. But this decision was something I never wanted to see. And I know a lot of people, to be fair, said they wanted Partey right back, and we talked about that the day after, the game, and we were texting our little group chat about it. And, I was sending you all these tweets. I said, it takes you a
You were?
second to just
You were?
search, just search online for holding Partey right back, and you will get loads of Arsenal fans calling for Partey to have been at right back all this time and moving White into the right side of the centre half area. But I thought when the lineup came out, it was going to be Xhaka. I thought Xhaka was going to be left back because he was, seen as a player that maybe could progress the ball somewhat better. And Arteta's backed that decision in the past and, defended the decision to play Xhaka at left back, even though I've been very critical of it. But what it ended up doing was completely unbalancing the whole team. It was we already, in my view, were a very right-sided team anyway, with Odegaard and Saka playing on that right. And when you then change and you flip the inverted style of the back four, which was effectively Partey was to be a Zinchenko, if you like, on the right-hand side, and Kivior was to be the Ben White of the left-hand side. That's effectively what we tried to do. And when you do that with already a very right-sided, heavy, skewed team, you then put even more kind of emphasis on that flank. And I think it must have been around 70+% of the time that we had, especially in the first half, was spent on the right-hand side and trying to create down the right-hand side. And that just meant Forest were very comfortable. They could predict what we were going to try and do. They could keep doubling up. They could add another midfielder. They could bring one over from the right-hand side to make it more frustrating and difficult to create good chances. And Trossard was left for the majority of that first half with barely any time or touch on the ball. And it left us very, very frustrated. But the goal is, I love Martin Odegaard and think he's a fantastic player. I think he's world class for me personally. But that pass is criminal, absolutely criminal. And, the best players in the world make mistakes, but that was a
No,
really.
like where was that supposed to be going?
I don't know. It's one of those where you feel like when Arteta's changed the team so much, and there's so many differences in the side, that he's playing in kind of a mindset of where he's played that pass before. There's already been someone there. And because we've changed things, they just weren't. But even then, you need to look up in those moments. You need to, especially when you're playing it backwards towards your own goal. I think you need to be more assured in those moments. And yeah, that was a really poor decision. And ultimately, it's ended up, the whole game costing us. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of inquests about what's happened this season and why we are where we are. We'll probably do that on today's show. But yeah, the lineup really bugged me yesterday or Saturday.
Yeah, it was a strange one. And like you, I looked at the lineup and I had question marks. And I thought to myself, is Xhaka going to be at left back? Then when I saw Ben White coming in the middle back again, who hasn't played there all year, I know he can play there where everyone shouts. I get it. But he hasn't played there all season. Then we see Kivior going in at left back. Jorginho was left a hell of a lot exposed, in my opinion. He's the only one who had any form of control of the football in midfield. Granit Xhaka was invisible. Trossard was even more so invisible. It was all over the place as a team lineup. And, big up Lee Judges, who's just walked in the building. Thank you, mate. How are you, bruv?
Evening, guys. Evening. Yeah, all good. Thank you very much. All good.
All you've missed is us talking about our starting lineup, Lee, which was a bizarre one. I just wanted to get your opinions on it, bruv.
Yeah. Listen. Do you know what? I've just been doing another show, and that's why I'm a bit late. But the longer I weren't as that annoyed about everything, but like after seeing the celebrations yesterday and things like that, it's got me more and more down. We should have stopped that. Should have stopped that happening. You know what I mean? There's no way we should have, after them stopping us winning the league, we should have let them have their day in the sun at home. We should have made sure that when they had to win it was on an away ground. It's really wound me up. And I'm going to really be honest with you. I'm going to say it. Mikel took the piss out of us fans with that team selection and then the way they played. We've and I've been one that's been very, very positive about it. Even when we've lost games this season, there's been reasons for it and whatever, But I'm going to be really honest. I've heard more about this game than I have when we lost to Manchester City, when we lost to other teams this season. That was as poor as it could have got on Saturday. And the team selection, I just do not understand. You've got a left back, and you're not playing him. And when you think about it, guys, it was a poor performance against Brighton, but I let it go. Some people didn't. He was the only one really left out, Tierney. The only one dropped from that performance, really. You know what I mean? Like Martinelli obviously come out because he was injured. And if you be honest, he sort of like put Partey in as the inverted right back. Well, can't you just go, you're away from home, just go for a 4-4-2? Like, you know what I mean? Like, listen, it's a real. Do you know what? Another thing, I don't know, you guys, I don't know what we've been talking about, but it's been a good season. We had some fantastic memories. I think like these last couple of games have left a sour taste in my mouth. I've got to be really honest. I can't defend it. Terrible way to end the season, and the team selection for that game, and it was poor enough, but then nothing was working, was it? It didn't change it, didn't do anything like that. I'll tell you what, but it took me 90 minutes to work out what was going on and the game was finished. You know what I mean? Like, it was a real...
My dad said
how
to
that
me,
same team came out in the second half.
Exactly, Tom. Exactly
Yeah.
that. My dad said to me, what is going on? No one's warming up. And then what was weird was all the stewards were around the circle. Do you know why they do that? They have all the stewards around the centre circle. No idea why that happens. But they did that. And we were like, what are they doing that for? And I was thinking, I hope someone comes and warms up in a minute, because there is no way he's going to take up that same side in the second half. Boom, out they come. And I thought, what's he doing? This super Mick, this turning into stupid Mick today. What is going on with him? It was pathetic, if I'm honest. And I know that he might be experimenting and all that. You don't do that, do you, with 2 games to go? You just win your bloody games, get your winning mentality back. We won 2 games in God knows how many, Chelsea and Newcastle, since the Liverpool game at Anfield. Like, this is a poor run. And again, Tom, April, May, 2 years in a row, we've completely crumbled. And I don't know what you put that down to. Is that the manager? Is it the mentality of the squad? Is it the lack that they're so exhausted? Is it? I don't know what it is. No, I can't work it out, Tom.
For me, it's always, I think we can point to mistakes rightfully, and I think there have been mistakes in the manager. I think the Liverpool game was mismanaged in terms of the second half substitutes. I think the team selection on Saturday was wrong. I think, the way in which we approached the Brighton game there were errors in that.
Yeah.
But I still, for me, look at this season like I did the end of last season and go that the injuries to key players have been the biggest deficiency in this team. You go to last season, you look at losing Tierney and Partey and White in certain games as well, and Tomiyasu was also out then too. And you go to this season and losing our most progressive player in the team in Saliba, and then losing, for the last couple of games, Zinchenko, who is, statistically involved in 40% of our expected goal build-ups. Like, that's a huge amount of contribution going forwards. And I think that we got to the point where, Zinchenko was looking so good going forwards that we have to start being a bit critical and looking at what the deficiencies are. And we had a lot of talks on several channels, and I know you boys have as well, about kind of what his weakness is defensively. But the fact of the matter is that what he brings you when he's in the side so far outweighs what his deficiencies are, going in the other direction, that we need that player. And that's ultimately why I think Arteta experimented, because I agree with Lee, I would have played Tierney, because I don't think we've got the option at the moment to bring in someone that's, going to give you what Zinchenko does, be that Kivior or Xhaka. But, it's just so obvious how reliant we are in this style that Arteta has implemented this season on players that can progress the ball from the back. And when you're without both of your most progressive players in the back four, that's going to have a huge impact on the quality of chances you create, on the quality of your build-up, the speed of your build-up, tactically how good you are. And, whilst we talk about the lineup and the subs and stuff, I think it's very clear that he just doesn't trust the other options he's got. Like, he just doesn't think they're good enough. And I think that comes down to, in part, mistakes in the market with the likes of Fabio Vieira, for instance, who does not look like he's good enough. I'll give him another season max, but then you got to make a decision on his future, maybe even this summer. If someone offered me 20 million, I'd probably take it at this point. So he's got to find a way in the summer window to ensure that this never happens again. Because 2 seasons in a row, during the 3-year tenure that he's had, I can accept the fact that we're going through an overhaul of the squad that's taken £500 million to do, to get us into a position where we've got an 11 that are capable of getting 90-plus points. But the thing is, we need a squad that are capable of getting 90-plus points.
Yeah.
And it's going to take more than £500 million to turn Arsenal from when he took over into a team that can do that. So all the whole, he's had £500 million, how are we not winning stuff? It's because this Arsenal team, you look at that squad that he inherited, it needed more than £500 million to get it close to Man City. He'd already spent more than £1 billion in the last however many years to get to where they are now. So if we're at the same point this time next season, and we've spent and we've reinforced in the way that we all know and obviously need to, and we are crumbling again, or we're rotating, it's still not working, then we can start asking some serious questions, I think, coaching-wise. But until that point, I still point this season primarily to those key losses in the 11.
I think that's do you know what, Tom? I think that is really well said, man. And I think if we get to this point next season and we're having a conversation like this, then perhaps we can start to look at what the manager or what the process is actually bringing. Lee, I wanted to talk to you about a few things that Tom's mentioned there, because for me, I was looking back at the Highbury squad predictions that we did just for a laugh, just to look at where we are in terms for the season.
We got anything right, did we?
I don't think we got much right, mate. That's for sure. None of us had Arsenal in the title race. I remember that. I don't know if you remember this, Lee. You said the flop of the season would be Fabio Vieira. You're probably close, along with Richarlison, mate. £35 million, and he's been shocking. And I'm going to be honest with you, mate. I'm shocked by some of his substitutions in the last few games. But when I see Smith Rowe on the bench untouched again, and this kid's coming on, I'm starting to wonder what these players are actually doing wrong to him. And on a second note for that, what did Kieran Tierney do so bad to get dropped for Kivior in a never complete position? So I'm looking at the futures of some of these players. We know Xhaka's off, right? Kieran Tierney and Smith Rowe, are they going to stay? If they're looking at this thinking, all right, I've not got on again, Fabio Vieira's getting on here ahead of me, and I've now been dropped for not just Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, I'm now being dropped for Kivior, who's played 4 games in an Arsenal shirt. I think it's time. Thank you so much. You've given me great opportunities, but I'm going to have to get out. I'm worried by that, Lee. I don't think it's good man management at all.
Well, listen, I'll say it now. Like, if I'm Tierney, if he doesn't leave at the end of the season, I'll lose a little bit of respect for him. because I think he's been treated really bad. In saying that, I think if you sat down with Tierney, you go, right, what's been our best performance in the last couple of games? Newcastle away, who played left back? Shinchenko. He was, you know what I mean? So when we put in a good foot, I can accept that he's a better player than me. I can accept that and say, you know, I can do it. But when he's out injured, and then you bring in Tomiyasu and put him over at left back, which has happened in the past as well, you know, I'm starting to question, do you really like me? And then when Tomiyasu's out and also Shinchenko's out, and I'm still not getting the game, something's not right. Something's not right, you know what I mean? For whatever. And I look back at the game against Brighton. No one played well in that game. No, and he's the only player that got dropped. If you ever look at it, you know, Martinelli was in the starting line but got injured. Trossard come on in his place and played after his name, Tossard, instead of Trossard. And then, like, you know, so I just feel I feel for him. I do feel for him. If at the end of the day, we've got to get his best mate back. And I'll tell you what, Dan, I know you like him and all that. And I you know, can't have no sentiment with all these players now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to get us 30. If we can get 30 million for him, take it, because he's not, for whatever in Arteta's plans. I look at Smith Rowe. I don't know what's really gone on with Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe last season was our best player, one of our best players. But I did say, and I stated at the beginning of the season, that Smith Rowe needs a good pre-season. He had no pre-season whatsoever. I have always a big believer of that. If you don't have a pre-season, you're always struggling. You're always struggling. And he didn't have a pre-season. Then he's got injured and he's had to come back and all that. Like, it's just been a write-off this season. I'm still going to I'll hold my thing on them. But again, if an offer, and I'm not saying that when people might jump down my throat here and go, he's not worth 50 million or 40 million or whatever. If someone is mad enough to come in and go, we'll give you 40, 50 million for him. He's an English player, by the way, things like that. I'm sorry, you've got to take it. You've got to be ruthless on it, like, you know. With the Vieira one, I looked at it. I see a player in Vieira. I see him, but be really honestly now with Vieira, where is he going to come in and play? Where is he going to come in and whose place is he going to take?
Well, he ain't going to play anyone's place playing the way he is.
No, well, even if he really improves, where I don't know where you're going to say, right, he's a backup for Odegaard, maybe. So
yeah, that is what he is. He's supposed to be a backup for Odegaard, but
right,
he ain't
so
good enough to be, is he?
You know, well, he's going to have to step up the plate next season, and you know, because that's a massive thing. Because the difference now is that you could listen. We was rotating last season. I think someone made a point in there, like, you know, we're shot and everything like that. We shouldn't be, because we went out of all the cup competitions early, and the Europa League we chopped and changed in all of that. Even in the group stages, we was poor. You know what I mean? And Vieira was probably playing in those games, but you know, we let that go. But you know,
why are we looking so exhausted playing one game a week, Lee? Like, why are we looking so
you ain't going to have that next season, Dan. You're playing like Champions League football on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, which is going to be a highly competitive game. Sometimes, you know what I mean, like the midweek game is going to be better than the Premier League game, tougher than the Premier League game. You know, that hasn't been the case all the time. All this season, every single game that we've played, the Premier League game's been the tougher game than the cup competitions, you know, apart from the Manchester City one, which, by the way, we rotated in that one, you know, and went out early in that game. You know, I will say this about Smith Rowe. I was at the Oxford game and I couldn't believe, you know, how overweight he was. And I'm not saying he's overweight but for a professional footballer, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? I don't think he's got his fitness back, like, you know, but, you know, I look at it and I really say, you know, Eddie's another one. If someone wants to pay 30, 40 million, but if it's for me, I'm going to West Ham and saying to them, look, we'll take Rice and you can have Eddie as well, like, you know what I mean, or something like that. We're going to have to be a bit ruthless when it comes to doing this thing, because I'm telling you, I want a midfield next season of Caicedo, Rice and Odegaard. That's my main three next season. That's what I want to see. I'll come the first game of the season. That's what I want to see. That's going to cost a lot of money. But we have got our midfield is weak. It's weak where we've had to play Partey when he's not been fit, or every time he goes down. Like for instance, when we played Man City in the league game, he's not playing. You know, it's a meltdown for everybody. Why? Because we haven't, the next player in is not going to be good enough. But imagine next season, like Casido, he's injured. Like Partey's coming in, or vice versa. That's the standards we've got to get now if we're going into this Champions League. And another thing is, when people turn around and go, well, we ain't got enough money for that, right? You know, I'm telling you that now. My season ticket's gone up more money this season than it has for the last 3 or 4 years. Why? Because we've got Champions League football. So I'm having to pay a lot more money than I have done in the past because we've got Champions League football, like, you know, and I expect the club to do exactly the same.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Sophie, pick yourself up.
Great
Great to see you, man. Great to see you. I'm over from the Highbury squad. I can't hear you. Why are you?
Evening, boys. How you doing?
Hey, there we go.
Sorry, I'm late, Dan.
No, don't be. You weren't late. Dave decided to have a snooze, so that's what it was. Yeah, couldn't get you in. Dave was in Ibiza mode, snoozing
Bless
away.
him.
Bless him. So if I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the reasons as to why perhaps we weren't up with Man City over the last few games. And I think from the Liverpool game, I said it on my fan cam, that I've been really disappointed, maybe that's an understatement to say the least, by the in-game management of Mikel Arteta. I think some of the substitutions, some of the team selections, some of the starting lineups and formations and trying to force players into position, and some of the treatment of players as well in Kieran Tierney and Emil Smith-Rowe. Even Trossard, to be fair, player of the month, and then didn't start a whole game in April. Got back into May now, and he's starting to get bits and pieces into his game again now. It's a strange one, Soph. I don't really know why people are so afraid to question the concerns that are clearly there still. So I wanted to get your thoughts on it, mate.
Yeah, it's a shame that the season has ended this way. And unfortunately, because of the way we've performed and the lack of results, it's going to open up Pandora's box and perhaps, you know, old wounds that haven't yet healed at the Arsenal. One being able to be mentally engaged in the season for 38 games. I think that's something that we've learned to cope with after missing out terribly last season, Dan. And adjusting our mental attitude and be able to come, you know, in our first, Tom will correct me here, but I think we only dropped 9 points from our first 17 or 19 games. Whatever that stat is amazing. That shows you that mentally we made huge strides. But for us, the culmination of being able to evolve mentally when the spotlight is super on us at the end of the season, that we're not quite ready for just yet. The inexperience was amplified left, right, and center in the Southampton game, the Brighton game. You know, dealing with adversity early on in the season, own goals coming back, it's all well and good. But the miss by Saka, the penalty, he's been such an amazing player for us for 2 years. I think that mentally he was affected by that and wasn't the same player after that. Second half of Liverpool, I think, affected us mentally. We haven't been able to recover from that. So when you combine that with Arteta's, you know, and it's less, is it about choice or is it his style? Does he likes to have a tight squad, but when you have to play the players over and over again, week in, week out, we've seen the results of it at the end of this season. And as much as it's been a learning curve for the young team, we have experience in that team: Jorginho, Xhaka, Thomas Partey, Jesus, Zinchenko. So the mental side of it, I was expecting a little bit more this season because I know and we know that we could have beaten anyone at football this season with the way we were playing. But there's just still some imperfections that we have to resolve going forward. And if it hadn't have ended as badly as it did, I don't think a lot of fans would be throwing their toys out the pram. And if we were chasing Manchester City, it would have been, oh, good old Arsenal almost, you know. But because we led for so long, and we had that 8-point gap, it's been seen as what it's seen as. But it doesn't change the season for me in terms of the journey. But the end of the season, really bummed about that. That's unacceptable.
Do you know what, Sophie?
Yeah.
And I'll be really honest about this. I don't know how everybody feels about this. Saturday's hurt me more than any of the other games. The West Ham 2-2, at the Manchester City game, you know what I mean? This one and the Everton games are the ones that and do you know why? Because I felt that the other team wanted it more than us, outfought us, outworked us. And I know that it's the end of the season and all that, like, and the pressure's off. You know, Brighton outplayed us and outfought us as well, like, because they wanted Europe. You know, you could see how much it meant to Brighton when they got to Europe this week. And obviously Forest, because they wanted it to stay in the Premier League. I feel that there was players, dare I say it, not giving their all, and that's what hurt me more than anything. Like this one was has hurt me a lot more.
I felt the same, and I said that to Kev, and he's like, "We just played crap. Get over it." And I said, "No, because." The application of the players going in, was it a case of we tinkered with the squad too much and they were confused and they weren't really the appetite wasn't as...
Manager's got to be blamed as well. It's not just
I mean,
these players
Kev was like, no, you know, and I said, well, why did he tinker? Why not just play Tierney in his position, right?
Exactly,
Why not just do the basics? But Mikel has this in him. It's the pep chip, but we don't have the personnel to apply the pep chip yet, and sometimes we've got to keep it simple.
He's also got to realise that he ain't Pep as well, right? That's the thing.
Not yet, no, of course. He's years and years and years and light years away of being Pep.
And he's got to realise that, though. Do you know what I mean? Oh, Pep does this and it works. I'm going to do it. Why ain't it working for me? Because you ain't Pep, mate. That's just got to. Sometimes he's just got to realise he ain't Pep. He might be a Brendan Rodgers. He might not be a Pep. Do you know what I mean? We don't know yet. He might be able to get us to just about there and go, I'm just not good enough to get you over the line, but someone else will be. And they come in like Liverpool did with Klopp, and now he's winning it. We don't know that yet. So I think he's just we've got to see where we're at once he hasn't got any more excuses of, I've got to now play Rob Holding or Eddie's got to come in now.
But Dan, we're also making a mistake by measuring ourselves against Manchester City. And I think we need to stop doing that. We are not on their level. We're nowhere near on their level. We just had a conversation with Nick Ramsdale, and he thinks we're 2 years away from even getting close to being on that level. But what we have done this season, when people talk about process, and you guys know my thing, it's process to progress, right? When you look at where we're at, people can say, and Gary Neville can say that next season Liverpool are going to be City's biggest rivals, and they said that about us last season too, right? But when you look at our season, it's, you know, Chelsea spent the money. It's not on us that they were crap. Liverpool spent money. It's not on us that they fell off a cliff. Man United spent money. It's not on us that they were crap. We played our game. And towards the end, I said to you guys in our WhatsApp group, I said, we've always played the course all season. And like golfers who try to play Tiger Woods instead of playing the course, they start to try and play Tiger and beat Tiger. And we started to think about Manchester City a bit too much. And I think that's a mistake. I feel like we lost our one game at a time vibe, and the mental just all of it just went.
It's a great point, Joe. It's a great point, and I'm going to say this now. City put that pressure on. City put the pressure on us. You know what I mean? Like, because I tell you where they go. Like, right, let's go back. They've got Liverpool. Like, Liverpool might be able to do something. 4-1, smashed them. You know what I mean? Then who else can take points off of Man City? I'll tell you what, we can smash 4-1. Everton might be able to do it 3-0. They've been relentless, and I think Tom made a point and said, you know, even if we'd have beaten West Ham and Southampton at this moment in time, we still would be winning the league. You know, we had to beat Liverpool. That was the one, and that's where it went. Like, I think mentally that took a lot out of us. Do you know what? I'm going to say it now. If we'd have scored that 3, you know, like when it went 2-2 and then went and nicked that goal at the end and won that game 3-2, I think that would have been a massive shot in the arm.
Are you talking about the pass, the Martinelli pass?
Yeah, I think we'd have gone on to
that's the moment the season changed. That
moment there. I think Arsenal.
The Saka missed penalty as well. Obviously, that was huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even if
as Lee said, like, even if we beat West Ham and we beat Southampton and we beat Brighton and we beat Forest, we're still behind City. So it's, as Lee said, it's that Liverpool game that changed everything.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Done more damage.
I agree. It was the Liverpool. It was, and to be fair, the games Southampton away, Everton away, Brentford at home. This was all well before Anfield. Do you know what I
But
mean?
in between that, Dan, there was Newcastle away. How do we go and do that
I know.
at
I know.
That's what this
Newcastle?
team's capable of. So
I
that's
know.
that's
Not
what they can
consistent.
do. It's
Yeah.
consistent. It's what Dan says, but it's not just consistency, right? Teams have been consistent in the past and won the league. You know, Arsenal went invincible. You know, which is arguably the most consistent you could ever be, and Man City have still beaten that points tally. Like, it's not just consistent; it's
Right.
industrial winning mentality, quality throughout 18 players to the highest degree. And just, I don't know if you've seen kind of the videos that have come out from Man City's dressing room in the last few games. Like, you've got Rodri and Diaz and De Bruyne are all doing the talking and stuff. And that is the difference. And you look at those players, you know, Diaz, late 20s, De Bruyne, 30, you know, Rodri's in his mid to late 20s. It's not only the fact that we're up against the Man City side with loads of players, they're all at the peak of their powers, you know, at this stage. And then they just brought in the best striker in the world to add on top of that as well. And that's what we're up against. We're going up against the best team this Premier League has probably ever seen, and we've got to try.
Do you think we're that though, Tom? Because I had a great chat. I had a great chat on my channel the other night with Savo. He's a big Spurs fan, funny enough. He said Arsenal have not bottled this league, which is crazy to come from a Spurs fan who can't wait to tell us that we have. But he's obviously a very level-headed Spurs fan. And he's saying, I don't think Arsenal bottled this league because you are nowhere near good enough to win the league. So like, you are. I just knew you were 8 points clear, and I was like, this ain't good enough. They're not going to win it.
That's a great
Said,
point.
so, they ain't good enough. The squad's not good enough. Ain't there? A couple of injuries, you won't win it. And then obviously the other guys were going, of course they've bottled it. They were 8 points clear. They were blah blah blah. So I wanted to ask you on this one, Tom, because I know that you've got strong opinions on it. Have we kind of had an argument, rightly so, about have we thrown it away, bottled it, capitulated? I don't know what word you want to call it. What's the least offensive word that no one cries about? I suppose thrown it away. There we go. And then, or have Manchester City won it? Which one is it? Have Arsenal gone, sure, we'll chuck it, or have Man City gone, we've won this off here? What way do you see this? Because I can kind of get behind both, but I know what I feel.
No, I think, you look at the amount of games we dropped points in the last 9 games, and you look at that and you go, well, Arsenal, if they were, a side that would challenge for title, they've thrown it away with that run. But the fact of the matter is, I use the example of last season. I think there's a greater argument to say that Arsenal threw the top 4 challenge away than there is to say Arsenal threw the league away this season, because last season you're going up against Spurs, right? And along the way to the top 4, both Arsenal and Spurs dropped points along that run. This season, you're up against a side that aren't dropping points. They're winning, and then they're winning, and then they're winning. And they're 12 games now on a winning streak, and they'll probably win their last 2 games as well. Even though, not only are they winning in that game against Chelsea, they dropped everyone, and they still they still won. It's not just that starting 11. So it's difficult for me to say that we bottled the league or we threw the league away this year because of what the context of we're up against. Whereas last season, I think there's a stronger argument for that because you're up against a Spurs side that are also dropping points. And if you would have beaten the teams that we were supposed to beat, beaten a Newcastle side with nothing to play for, gone to Spurs, who we were better than really on paper, and beaten them, then you'll get the Champions League qualification. But up against this Man City side, it's just a very different context. And it does come back to that argument about progress. Like, what frustrates me, and I'm sure we'll get onto Arteta as well, and maybe this will segue into it, but what's frustrated me is the hate that suddenly emerged for Mikel Arteta. Like, I can't stand it. I usually am able to stay pretty level-headed about these types of debates, these arguments, these discussions, and we all have our own channels and communities, and we discuss. And sometimes, yes, they can come a bit of an echo chamber because people want to listen to the views that they tend to agree with, and you want to hear, feedback from tens of people that are agreeing with you. It's not great to hear always that you're wrong or people think that you're wrong. But what I've really struggled with is the Arteta outside of things, because I think it's ludicrous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to be sitting there and have any bottle to turn around and say that you think the manager should be sacked, and you're going to come up with an idea of who's going to come in and do a better job than the person that's taken us from 8th to 5th to 2nd, with a squad that was fractured and broken after Emery left it, pulled it together, won an FA Cup with that team that was fractured and broken, has overhauled and kicked players out the squad with big personalities, apparently, that he can't handle, like Aubameyang, bring in players with the mentality of won leagues, improve players to the maximum, turn Granit Xhaka, a player that, people like yourself, Dan, ruled off years ago, into a player that's become one of the better players in the Premier League this season, turned Martin Ødegaard into a player that's now level with Kevin De Bruyne in terms of goals scored from non-penalty positions in the Premier League season, he is taking every player to that next step. And he's taken Arsenal back to a title challenge, which they've not been in for the better part of, since we last really won the league. We have put, and we're getting a title. We could potentially getting a points haul that is above that of teams that have won leagues. It's if we win, I think our last game, I think the only league season I think there's only 2 league seasons where we've accrued more points. So it's ridiculous to suggest that Arteta should go. And it comes from a mindset that just lacks grounded, objective thought, in my opinion.
I mean, like, before I bring Soph and Lee in, I'll tell you where I'm at on that, because the reason I'm going to agree with you is because, one, I think he's deserved it to stay for another year because he's overachieved with that squad, in my opinion. And 2, and you're going to laugh at this, we have had 3 whole seasons with probably 3 chances in each season with ample opportunity to sack this guy, and we didn't do it. So to sack him when he's finally overachieved now would look rather silly, right? So for me, we can have this conversation this time next year if we're in this similar position again, trophyless, bottling a league, because I believe we have bottled it, right? We can have that conversation. And do you know what? I probably would say, maybe this guy ain't going to take us over the line, but look at the good he's done. Let's get somebody who now can. We can have that convo then. I don't think we should be having that convo right now, because for me, I think with another summer, he has got no excuses next season, unless, of course, the Cronkies don't back him and he doesn't have a good window, etc., to say, Rob Holding, in you come. El Neni, in you come. Eddie, you're up top. Reece Nelson, you're coming on. Fabio Vieira, you're coming on. I don't want any of those names mentioned next season. If they're being mentioned, I want them in the League Cup games against Shrewsbury, right? If they're even here, that is. So that's what we need now is a big summer. And Mikel Arteta gets to go again. Sophie, I wanted to ask you, right, about the Arteta thing, but also about the bottling the season thing, because I know that you had strong opinions on this as well, right?
Yeah.
So if we're saying that we're not bottling it, because this was a question I was given, I didn't quite know where people's thoughts were on this one. Are we saying if we have not bottled this league, then it's a complete fluke that we're up there already? Because we can't bottle it because we shouldn't be up here. So we're fluky to get up there. And I thought, yeah, good point. How do we answer that?
I'm not trying to be a politician because that's the last thing I usually am. But what the goal at the beginning of the season is always to win the league. But if we're talking about real strategic objectives, the goal was to get into the Champions League. When you say that, Arsenal fans will come at me and say, you're not ambitious. You're fans like you, like failure and all these things. Genuine question. Before the Aguero moment, how long was it before City won the league when those owners came in? Was it
Tom, you're the stats man at that.
Was it 3 seasons?
3 years?
I think
remember.
it was.
They had Mark Hughes for 2 years, didn't they? And then they got Mancini in for 1. So
Right.
yeah, 3.
I think it was 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Right. And I've learned a lot of lessons going through this Arteta debate and discussion. And if we couldn't see progress, I would have mega questions and would probably revert back to how I felt about him 18 months ago, 2 years ago. But when you see what we've done with the players we have and the thin squad we have and how close we did get, because again, our goal is to beat everyone else as much as we can and hope that we get a point against Manchester City. If you can do those things, you win the league. And we almost did that. But almost isn't good enough. Of course it's not, because we come from a culture of a winning club. But we've also rebuilt Arsenal. It's Arsenal 2.0. I think people still think we're that club, but we're not. We've had to evolve. We've had to change. You just don't go out and win when you've had to gut the club and rebuild a culture. So if you're an Arsenal fan asking for him to be sacked right now, when clearly you can see the progress that we've made. Okay, we didn't win a trophy. Every season should end in silverware. Lee and I talked last time when we were like bummed we were out of the Europa League. We want to win the FA Cup. Pep goes for the League Cup every year. He's got the squad to do that. And that's what we need. They've set the bar, right? Arsene Wenger set the bar when he came into English football. Sir Alex Ferguson set a certain bar in terms of winning. You know, then you have Pep Guardiola who comes in and sets the bar once again to a totally different level. So for us, you know, I think that we just need to give it one more shot. You know, if we collapse at the end of next season, then you can ask all of these questions again, Dan. But in terms of bottling and choking, I never thought we did. But when we performed like we did against Brighton and Forest, I can't sit here and say that didn't feel like a choke. But what it felt like to me was a lack of performance energy, because they showed up. They fought back against Southampton. We didn't bottle that. But against Brighton and North Forest, we'd had nothing. And, you know, you have to ask how the manager couldn't keep them engaged and mentally focused on that match, because, call me crazy, mathematically, right, still possible. You never know what's going to happen in life or football. And mentally, it's over, of course. But mathematically, it wasn't. And they went out there and they played like chumps.
We did, man. Lee Judges, let me ask you, man, because I've got to say, I, along with you, was extremely disappointed. But where I kind of weren't so disappointed as with you was because I'd already accepted it was kind of done and dusted. I think the most disappointing thing, however, was the fact that it looked like they'd all given up. And you and I were at the game. Tom was at the game. We hadn't given up. We weren't on the beach. We were there wanting and expecting to see us beat Nottingham Forest.
Where were you?
Yeah. So I think when you look at it, we have got some disappointments there. But I wanted to ask you, Lee, because there's a lot of debate about where we go and what we do. I want to move on to what happens next, because it's a huge summer, man. It's a huge, huge summer. We say it every year, but this one really is. We're back in the Champions League. We've always had pulling power. We've got pulling power even more so now. I honestly can't understand why the last couple of transfer windows have been rated by some fans as 8s or 9s. When we get one injury to Saliba and then we're back in a mess. Zinchenko and Martinelli get out, we can't win a game. That isn't a 9 out of 10 window. But I tell you what we need is a 9 or 10 out of window in the summer league. So what are you expecting, bro?
Yeah, listen, I think there's let's get things into perspective and all that. Arsenal have got to spend a lot of money because they're in the Champions League and the competition and everything goes up a level on a notch. And also, everybody's season ticket has gone up quite a lot because of Champions League football. So I expect the club to follow suit. Now, I get a lot of things, people go, Mikel, has got to win a trophy and you're never going to win a trophy for that. There's 4 trophies that you can go for next season. All 4 of them in, there's a certain team in there. Who's won 5 out of the last 6 Premier Leagues? Manchester City. Who's favourites to win the league next season? Manchester City. So you're up against it straight away to win the Premier League.
Well, I'd argue that Man City are actually our favourites to win all 4 next season.
Exactly that. They're
so
it's to win all 4. They're going to win 3 trophies this season, I think. Right. So you're up against it in every. There was one.
They underachieved if they don't, Lee.
I think from where they are now, 100% they are.
Bottlers.
If they don't win it, they're bottlers because they're playing 2 teams. They're playing 2 teams that they're so much better than them.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
They should go on there and win the treble. If they don't, Pep's for failure. Get someone else in because you can't get them over the line. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how you got to look at that. Well, that's what they're saying with Arsenal at this moment in time.
Yeah, spot on,
the same sort of things that they're saying. Now, at the end of it, there was one competition this season that we could win that Manchester City weren't in, and that was the Europa League. And if we be honest, we tossed that aside because we thought we might have a great chance of winning the title. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? If we'd have done what we've done now and bottled the league or didn't win the league, but we won the Europa League, would everybody be going, that's all right, give Mikel now another 3-year contract, he's won a trophy? No. There'd still be the criticism if the following season, because they go, it was only the Europa League or it's only the FA Cup and all that. Get a little bit of perspective about it. I'm not happy with what he's done in the last couple of weeks and Dan will know this. But I'm telling you that now, this season, the way we've played, he's won me over. Because my opinion's changed of him, but I'm not saying that right, Mikel, you've got to go and win the Premier League next season and whatever. What will be disappointing for me next season, because I don't think it's no shame to be coming behind Manchester City. Like, let's get something right about Pep quickly. Like, you know what I mean? If Haaland, has he been out for 3 months this season? No. When he's been injured, who's he bring in? Like, you know what I mean? Like, when we've had our top striker out, we've had to bring in Eddie. Congratulations to Eddie. He done it really, really well. When they get a defender injured, they bring in somebody else, like, of the same ilk. We bring in Rob Holding. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't got the same depth of squad that they have got. That is one thing going on. What will be disappointing for me next season, guys, is if Manchester United come above us, or Chelsea come above us, or Newcastle come above us, and all that. Like, no disgrace coming second to Manchester City with what they do and what they've got. Because I can tell you this now, Haaland's only just getting started. He's going to get better and better. Don't worry about that. Like this, he's not the finished article by a long chalk. Now, a lot of people were saying 2 years ago, "Oh, if Harry Kane goes to Man City, that's the league wrapped up for 5 years." It's the same now, guys, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. It's going to be wrapped up again for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, this is a team that's going to go and win the treble. And as we just quite rightly said, it would not surprise me if they won all 4 at some stage. This the way that it is at this moment in time. We've given them a good run for their money, but unfortunately, we've come up short for them. But we've come further than Man United. We put in a better than Man United. We put in better than any of those other teams. So that is what the thing is now for me. That is Mikel's thing. If he comes 2 points off of Manchester City, okay, like, you know what I mean. But I do think next season, right, I don't want us to be throwing away trophies. You can't be going like, oh, we've got the Champions League now. We're going for the league, or we're going for the Champions League now. I don't want to see us halfway down the league because we're chasing the Champions League. He's got to be right in it to the end, and that's the FA Cup as well now. Like, none of these giving away things, no more. And he's got to give it a real good go. But ultimately, if you face Manchester City like we did, Manchester United are only in the cup final, by the way. Let's just get this right. Manchester United are only in the cup final because they've avoided Manchester City, right? Newcastle got into the final and Manchester United because they bummed out against Southampton. They couldn't do it themselves, right? So the fact of the matter is, we might have got to the cup final this season, but we had to. There's a little bit of luck in draws in cups and all that. We had to get. Well, who did we get in the 4th round? Love and behold, good old lucky Arsenal, Manchester City away. See you later. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be difficult. But who knocked out Manchester? When we won the FA Cup, who did we knock out to get to that final? Manchester City. So that's what you're up against. If you knock them out, you've got a chance. You know what I mean? But it's very, very, very difficult. And when everybody going, we're going to win the like, at the end of it, like, everybody's going, Manchester United, they've had the Carabao Cup, like, you know what I mean? Let's see if they win the FA Cup and beat Man City. I'm looking at that and going, that's not an achievement from Manchester United. That's Manchester City's failures, because that's what everybody's doing with us. The reason we've Arsenal have not won the league because they've bottled it. Arsenal have not won the league because they're not, this and that. What about how good Manchester City are? Because I'll tell you what, if Manchester City would have lost 2 games in that 11 or 12 game thing, it wouldn't have mattered. But they didn't. They've considered. They haven't dropped a point since we beat Aston Villa. They drew at Nottingham Forest that day, like, and they've won every single game since then.
Incredible side, man. Best I've seen.
I can guarantee you right now that if Man United beat Man City in the FA Cup, it will be lauded by Manchester United will be lauded as beating the greatest side ever. There will be no bottle choke.
Can't happen, man. Can't happen.
If Man United win the FA Cup, they've had a better season than us. Like, without
100%.
Without doubt. There's
no doubt. No doubt.
If Man United win the FA Cup and they've won the League Cup and they've come 3rd or 4th in the they've had a better season.
Brilliant season. Good season for them. Yeah.
Yeah, a great season.
Of course, it's about the trophies, isn't it? But
what happens if Manchester City don't win those 2 trophies?
What do you mean?
They've underachieved, mate.
Let's see
That's
if
what they've done. They've underachieved.
I will make a bottle banner
Oh, I hope they
and
do.
I will hang it high.
Just Liverpool got
can't
slagged
see
off
it.
last season for winning 2 cups.
Yeah.
Right? Got slagged off for winning 2 cups, like, you know what I mean? Because the Manchester City, like, you know, if I personally think they'll win all 3.
Do you want them to win the treble? Do
Yeah.
you want?
I do
Yeah,
want.
I do.
I'll tell you why I want them to win the treble, Soph. I'll tell you why. Because Man United fans, right, have wanted Manchester City to win the league over us, like, yeah. And what that would
Oh, I don't
do.
know. Not all of them.
Well, most of them, like, you know
Most
what I
of them.
mean? Like, you know what I mean? Getting a
Really?
tap an Arsenal fan when Manchester City beat us and all that. I don't forget things like that, Dan, like, you know what I mean? Right.
Oh, fair
Now,
enough.
if they do that, right, what does that tell you? The treble, yeah, it's fantastic, but it can be done by other teams. No one's done the Invincibles yet. Mind you, Manchester City could do that as well, like, but they haven't. So, in a way, it takes a little bit of the old gloss off of their little treble. And I'd love that. Like,
I think people have underestimated how much they're driven by wanting to beat Manchester United to everything. We became part of their narrative this season, but we're not their goal. We're in their rearview mirror. What Pep Guardiola is chasing is to beat all records that Ferguson or Manchester United have ever achieved. And if he can make this team go, you know, as the United lose, we can still brag about being invincible, which is also makes me laugh because they can all talk about their treble, but we can't talk about being invincible. You guys live in the past. It's unbelievable, right? But that feather, that goes for them. And that's huge. And the feather goes, and it's their rival that does it. Pep Guardiola is a maniac, and he's driven by one single goal, and that is to be the force. And it always has been their goal since they bought the club years and years ago, to have that, to be better than Manchester United.
He will go down, but when he retires, I don't know when that'll be. He will be the best ever for me.
Hopefully the
Pep
end
will
of
be
the
better than
season.
Ferguson.
Not if he
Yeah,
no,
I
he
hope he
won't.
goes.
No, he won't. If he doesn't win the Champions League in another league without Messi, I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, no,
He will
Messi
win
had to win the
Champions League
World
this
Cup
year.
to be the GOAT.
Yeah,
Everyone was like, no, he's got to win a World Cup. He's got to
Yeah,
win a
but
World Cup.
do you think Inter Milan are going to beat Man City? I mean,
No.
I don't. No.
Why
I think
not?
I think
Why
they'll win the
can't they on a
treble.
day of
I think they'll win
football?
the
Anything
treble.
can happen.
Yeah,
Why
of
not?
course. Anything can
Yeah,
happen in that
but
time.
I mean, they can, but I don't believe they will.
I just think there's 2 things when it comes to like Guardiola. Like, for me, if any other this season, and I'll put it to you, and feel free to disagree with me, any other manager in charge of City this season, I'd back Arsenal to beat City in the league this season. To compare the season that we've had,
yeah.
put someone else in charge of City this season. I don't think they've got the mentality. I don't think they've got the
Pep's a monster, man.
Pep has. Yeah, I just think that's such a difference for them. And also, you know, we talked about like next season we want to see ourselves go further, you know, in cups and stuff. The one team that have beaten Man City to a title is Liverpool, you know, in these last, 6-7 years. They're the last team that's done it to interrupt that run. Does anyone want to tell me how far they think they got in their other competitions that season?
When Liverpool won when
When
they
Liverpool
won the league.
Do you want anyone have a guess at how far they got in the FA
Well, the
Cup?
League Cup they were out of early, I think.
I guess they were out of everything by the second or third round.
The Champions
Right,
League, they won it the following year.
FA Cup, they're out in the 5th round. Obviously, they go in the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got through 3rd and 4th, and then they've lost in the 5th. AFL Cup, they've gone out in the quarterfinals, and then in the Champions League, they went out in the round of 16. That's when they went out of those tournaments. That's the only team that have broken that record from Man City. And that's, we can all want us to go further in those cup competitions, but the reality is, if you want to beat City to the title, you're probably not going that far in the other competitions.
Can I flip the question?
Yeah,
if Klopp or Pep were the manager of this Arsenal team this season, are we winning the league?
I think if Pep was in charge of this Arsenal team this season, we
wins us the league 100%.
Because they're not a City as well, which is a big point.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing with Pep, which you have to take in, and for the first time, I've really sort of been involved with him. He's sort of been looking in from the outside and all that. Don't forget, he had all those charges put on him at this stage of the season. He batted all that off, like, you know what I mean. Whether he knows what goes on or not, he bashed them down. What he's done with Walker, he's very, very clever. And also what he does, which is something I noticed this season, is 3 or 4 times, like, you know, there was a part of the season when Grealish wasn't playing. There was a part of the season when De Bruyne weren't playing. I remember De Bruyne being left out against Spurs on a couple of occasions, and me doing me nut about it, like, you know. And what he done is he kept everybody rotated, but when it really matters, they're all fresh and ready to go. Like,
He does so well at that.
He does that rotation thing very, very well.
Better than anyone.
And look, listen, he's got the players that he can do it, but he does. You still got to be able to do it and still be able to manage that. Like, and you know what he done with Walker, like, you know, he questioned him. He said to him, "Oh, I don't know if you can do it or not. Can you?" Then he put him back in, and what he's basically said, "Yeah, I can do it, boss."
And he's got the pedigree to do that and to do it publicly. Yeah. And he went a little rogue in his pressers this season, like things that he was rattled. We rattled him about just before March. Yeah, he was.
And do you know what? Like, name me another manager that gets hold of Nathan Ake and John Stones and says, right, I'm going to stick you at left back. Best left back this season, in my opinion. A lot of people say Zinchenko, no chance. Ake all day long. Then you look in the middle and go, John Stones, I'm going to put you as a inverted centre back stroke centre midfielder DM. There you go. Go in the league. Oh, all right, then I'm going to go and do it. What the hell? How does he do that? That is just mad.
What's ironic, Dan, is that name me another coach that turned a centre back into one of the best fullbacks this season.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
It's incredible, man.
And also, Eddie Howe doesn't get enough credit for what he's done with Joelinton. I mean, he's transformed that play in his position.
This year, like unbelievable this year.
Sometimes we get starry-eyed, you know. I mean,
Southgate
he's definitely amazing and he's brilliant. I said on our show, and Kev was like, "No chance." I said I reckon Pep could win the league with Brighton this year. That's how good I think he is. Wow. And if you guys remember, we had a conversation about Tottenham and Conte, and you and Harry were talking about Harry Kane and Son being the reason. And Dan and I were like, Antonio Conte is really the reason if they do achieve anything. This kind of yin and yang of players versus manager, you know, at the end of the day, it's everyone collectively, right? But there's just, Pep is so savage. I actually think, call me crazy, that I reckon he could have driven Brighton to the league this season. He's that good. He's that much of a anomaly. He's on another planet.
For the last 3 seasons. If you give Pep the time, you know, he didn't win the league in his first season with City. You know, he needed that time to get in the players. He wanted the players that could play that system. Like, if you think, I absolutely understand what you're saying, Soph, and it's a credit to Pep.
That was the first time he didn't win a trophy, Tom, in his entire career.
And I think that when you look at what he's done, he looks at building a squad that has the players that play exactly what he wants and what he needs. But even then, he can get players, like he said this season, he said that Kyle Walker can't play my system. And yet he's used him in the most important games of the season against us, against Real Madrid. You know, he's used them in the most, against Liverpool, he uses him in the right moments, the right times, because he's got that available to him. But against the other teams where he knows he's going to dominate possession and they're not going to give you as much threat, he'll throw John Stones in, or he'll throw Rico Lewis in, or he'll throw
rotation is incredible, man.
I'll be so shocked if he doesn't win a Champions League with this team. I will be shocked.
They're going to win the treble, man.
And that's the level.
Mm-hmm.
I will say something about, and I just want to say about Arteta, because I've just seen it on the telly. Newcastle all going mad, and you know
they're celebrating.
Eddie Howe celebrating, you know, getting the Champions League, and congratulations Newcastle, they got it today. All the crowd going mad and that. When did we do that?
What, the crowd going mad? We're not going to. Arsenal Football Club aren't going to. Fans aren't going to run just because we finished second. We'll run on the pitch when we win the title.
When we qualified for the Champions League, we didn't even celebrate it. We didn't even celebrate getting to the top 4 this season. You know what I mean? Like we had.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's brilliant thing. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were poo-pooing it.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I don't even know when we did get to the. But that was the aim of Newcastle at the beginning of the season. Probably the aim of us at the beginning of the season.
Newcastle have overachieved massively, man.
We didn't even cheer it. Do you know why we didn't cheer it? Because we was focused on another great thing, and so that is what I think you got to give Arteta loads of credit for. Right? You know, when people turn around and say like, yeah, Pep probably would have got us to maybe to a title, you know, but at the end of the day, he took us from 5th last season.
Start before 8th, 5th.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the devastation of last season, you know what I mean, was hard. I remember walking out White Hart Lane, Dan Hughes here, like they were celebrating on the streets. I'm not having a go at Spurs for this because they were celebrating on the streets because they knew that they would basically they knew we weren't going to beat Newcastle and they knew they was going to get top 4 and all that, like, and celebrating, and rightly so. We're in the Champions League. We haven't even celebrated it this year, like, because we had it was going for same rules. So that's a compliment.
The thing is, I saw this tonight. Someone sent it to me. Arsenal have got the lowest collection of points of any team in Premier League history in the last 10 games of anyone that's finished in the top 3. So I think that's why people are now looking at this as this bottle thing. Blah blah blah.
I can get. Listen, it's been poor. Then been poor.
Oh, no, it's been awful. But you know what, right? And I say this: I was in Sri Lanka. I watched Tottenham beat Man City, and it was the same night that Man City were getting done over with this financial thing. And it was silly o'clock over there because the times are changing. And I went to bed going, bollocks. I didn't want that. That's going to piss him off now. They're going to go on some mental run. I ain't lost a game since. Stuff like that really pisses Pep off. And he'll say, you can try and beat me up if you want, but I'm going to win every game now. And he's going to do a treble.
Don't they?
They used it as a tool. Like Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, when you used to wind him up, he used to love it. He used to go, go on, then wind me up, and I'll go and absolutely hammer you. That's exactly what Pep's done. He's got them team together and go, they're trying to mug us off. Are you going to let them take all your trophies away? Go and win 3 of them.
Of course, they get the benefit as well of being Man City, is that teams go into those games and they think they don't have a chance. Man City, as we talk about that famous winning the game in the tunnel. That's what they have. But Arsenal had that at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Arsenal had that where they were just winning games, and just like teams were coming up against us and whatever they threw at us, we could deal with it. And we just played our game and won it. It didn't matter who we were going up against. We didn't necessarily adapt our game, which you can talk about as a bit of a criticism later on in the season, because our game was just too good for basically everyone in the league. But it's when we lost against Everton, and then you lose at Anfield and you draw at West Ham or you draw against Brentford, and these games, you then suddenly start to give anyone that plays you that belief. And that's why Nottingham Forest went into that game, against us with such belief that they could get a result. And so did Brighton and so did Southampton. Teams had that mentality that they won't have when they go and play City, because whoever plays City is second best. Whoever plays City knows that the likelihood is they're going to lose this game. Whereas if they're going against Arsenal right now, no matter who's in charge, who the squad is, doesn't matter who you are. If you're not Man City, you know that you can have a chance in pretty much any game. But if you go up against Man City, you don't have that set.
And I'll tell you another thing, Tom, which is a great point, right? I'm telling you that now. If Manchester City would have gone to Everton on Sean Dyche's first game, they wouldn't have lost. Oh, it's Sean Dyche's first game and all that. I remember everybody trying to make excuses for that. Manchester City would have gone there and gone bang, bang, bang. See you later.
Yeah.
No one says how bad we were. They all say it's because of Dyche. Come on, man.
No. That was a poor day for us. Right? You know what I mean? Manchester City wouldn't have. They would have been like, "Come on, we'll show you." We'll show you what we're made of here.
That's one of the wrongs we didn't right from last season, Everton away.
Yeah, I think that was a big loss. Like, do you remember when that come out of that game down? I was angry as anything, right? And people going, "Why are you angry?" Because I that was a sign. That was a big test that day, and we failed it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think if we win that game, and people go, "Oh, look, Sean Dyche has come in and they've steamrolled them." I think that game showed a little bit of vulnerability.
I think you're right, man. Listen, we're going to close with some super chats. We're going to flick them up one by one. We've got Chaitanya. How many players do we need? Can you do outgoings and incomings? I feel we'll be short in depth again. I can't see us signing more than 4 players. Tom, let's put that to you. If we want to go on and be as good as City, 4 fronts on all this, what are we talking about in the transfer window, bruv?
If the question obviously how many do we need, but as you said, you need to apply the context of how many do we need for what? If the question is how many do we need to beat City to the title, 8 maybe. Yeah, I agree. 8 really good players. If you want to do better than we've done this season and get closer to City, then we need about 5 or 6. If you want to beat Man City and you've got to go into that season and go, we can really match them. I think you need 8 really good players, and that's the difference. So yeah.
Fair play, man. I actually agree with you, man. I'd like to see us get.
I love every time you say that. You say it with such surprise. I actually agree.
We don't normally. That's a lie. Actually.
Kev said 8 players a summer, not last summer, the summer before. He's been on 8 players
really
for a while.
But
It's
he's
like
totally
Yeah,
right.
he's
In
been
a
right.
sense,
Free,
because
innit?
some of the signs we've made not been good enough. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
he's got-
agree.
they-
I totally agree.
Yeah, he's
It's,
got a
it's
lot
8
right,
players.
Arteta,
If you
but-
get, they've got to bring in 8 players if they're going to get rid of 3 or 4. Otherwise, it's
Yeah,
like
that
no
press is
listen,
different.
going. That's what I mean. You know, like yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Smith
yeah.
Rowe and Tierney look like they're
Well, it was-
going. That was what I was going to do, was read this out. So I saw this today. No idea if it's true. No idea. But I do like Grizz. We all know Grizz Khan. He's a good old boy. Arsenal news. He's a Liverpool fan. Those that don't know. I've been told by someone very close to Declan Rice he's very, very likely to join Arsenal this summer. Also being told Smith Rowe will be part of the deal as West Ham want him. So let's see what happens there.
Well, Moyes wants Reece Nelson as well as part of that deal.
Well, he's a free transfer, ain't he? Is he a free transfer, Reece?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to go on a
Yeah,
free.
well, we'll get
So
what's it called, a
watch this
compensation
space.
for your thing.
Yeah.
Watch this space. Next one comes from Joel Eaton.
Does he win us? Does he get us closer to the title, Declan Rice?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
For me, he
course,
does.
100%.
100%. Soph, Joel says, would you sack Arteta if we don't win the title next year?
Do we win a trophy? Do we win the Champions League? Sorry, no, just joking. No, because winning the title is going to be really hard. But I do think he needs to win another trophy.
I do.
And I don't want to see him throw away the domestic trophies. And he's been doing that since he won the FA Cup.
I agree.
If he's out of the top 4, he's under pressure.
Oh, that's definite.
If we're out of the
yeah.
top 4, that's ridiculous. You know, you can't legislate finishing outside the top 4 next season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It'll be gone. But
Staunchest
if
of
he
our
comes
second
second to City,
So the question was, if we don't win the title, that was the question.
Again, lacks a lot of context because you're going, well, if he doesn't win the title, where are we finishing? Because if it's a case, if we don't win the title, but we've got closer to City than we did this year, then
If
no.
he comes second, how can you sack him?
Yeah. But if we finish outside the top 4, oof.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah,
he must have lost the whole
question
He
marks.
must have lost it if lost the dressing room if you're fishing outside the top 4.
And I think it's how you go out the trophies as well. Like if you roll over against Sheffield United in the League Cup and like Shrewsbury in the FA Cup, then you're going to be looking at thinking, what are we doing again? But if you're going out in the semis to Man City, or you get to the final of the League Cup and City beat or whatever, there's a difference, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? It's how you go out these competitions.
Yes.
You know,
it's exactly. If we'd have lost to Forest, none of us would have cared if we fought and played well and lost a game of football against a team that just, I mean, those are the woof.
Judges, let's put this one to you. Your mate Edu, he's got his work cut out. Current players will want raises with Champions League football. Experienced signings you need will want big contracts. Do you have the faith in Edu?
Yeah, I do. I think that Arsenal will make some big signings this season. I think that listen, I'll tell you this now: if we don't sign 2 top quality midfield players, and I'm on the hook, like of a Declan Rice and a Casido. If we don't sign those 2 players, then we're not gonna be challenging for the title next season because we've been weak in midfield this season. Thomas Partey has been, I think, flogged, and like at the end of the day, he's not fit enough to last a campaign. We know that, and that's without Champions League football. So realistically, you've got to be looking at 3 top class midfielders, and you're losing one in Xhaka. So, for me, I think that the midfield he's got to go for is, as I said, is a Casido, a Rice, and maybe even a Tielemans, a free transfer, someone coming in of that to do that. It's a massive thing there, But as I said, he's gonna have to sell players. If that is true, Smith Rowe going the other way, I can see that happening as well. I can see us losing an Eddie, Smith Rowe, Tierney. Get prepared for those sort of players to go as well. We're going to have to let players go that are going to give us money to be able to reinvest, because we're not going to be able to. If we're going to bring in 2 midfield players, we ain't going to be able to get a forward and a defender as well. So something's got to give. But I do think that Arsenal will make 4 massive signings this season, and if they don't, we'll be where we are.
You'll be looking above Arteta if we don't. That's all I'm saying. I'll be looking at the board and the ownership.
Yeah.
Let's take this one. I'll take this one. Pep changed the first team 88 times. Arteta only 38. It tells you can win no matter who's on the pitch. Yeah, fair, but we don't really have the squad like City to make 88 changes. But I get what you're saying. Pep's definitely the better manager out of the 2, for sure. Let's come to this one last of all. Emily, looking forward to this summer.
I love
recruitment.
Newman, by the way. I
I'm
do
going to
love
screen grab
Yeah,
this, by
Newman's
the
a
way.
legend, man.
I'm
He's a
going to
legend.
screen grab
It
those
does
2
make me
bits.
laugh.
He's a legend, Newman.
We'll see what
Big up,
happens on
Newman.
the
Hope
next
you're
show.
well, brother. O'Malley says, big up, mate. Says, looking forward to this summer recruitment. 20 years since the Invincibles and last title. Also, I think people underestimate how big upgrading Granit Xhaka is. Last couple of seasons had a very good season, particularly this one, but I don't think Declan Rice will be a downgrade on Granit Xhaka, that's for sure. So let's hope we go for him and Caicedo. Tom, I've got to throw this to you, mate. You've made an unbelievable point, and I think we should finish on it, mate, because there's been other teams that have had shockers this season, particularly Chelsea. I think Tottenham are just laughable. Lee, Harry, and Tom said that it's Kane and Son that gets them fourth, not Conte. Well, they're in eighth without Conte, so there we go. I'm only.
He was in charge.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I had to bring that up.
Yeah, I had to bring that one up. But we talk about Liverpool, Tom, and I think it's a great point, bruv.
Yeah, I mean, it comes off the back of Joel's question. It made me think when we were answering it, where he said, would you sack Arteta if we don't win the title next season? And I thought, and we were saying, well, if we finish outside the top 4, then yeah, got to go. Well, Liverpool just finished outside. Well, probably going to finish outside the top 4, and they've not won a trophy. So should therefore Klopp have been?
Yeah, but they won the Champions League and the Premier League, Tom.
Yeah, but they've gone backwards.
I'll tell you, if they do it again next season, he'd be gone, mate. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, I get he's got money in the bank in terms of those trophies, right? But we're all, for me, and you said there, Soph, that your old idea of Arsenal is it's process to progress, right? Or progress to the process. So you tell me if I'm wrong. They're not progressing. They've gone back, and they've gone back the last 2 seasons. So I don't.
This season, last year they almost won a quadruple. This year they fell off a cliff.
In the FA Cup.
They won the League Cup.
No, and the FA Cup. They won both.
Yeah, they won 2. Yeah.
They won both the domestic.
But they were going for the quadruple, remember? They were going to win the quadruple.
I know, I get what I'm saying,
because
they have gone backwards. And I think that, it's right to say, when do we look at managers? When do we question managers? Now, Klopp, you can't really question what he's done at Liverpool, but certainly this season you can question where they're going. Now, I think Lee's right. If they have a summer, they get their midfield right, they get their centre-half in they need, and a couple of other players they might need, they could be back next season, who knows? But if they're not back and they're finishing outside the top 4 again, there's going to be question marks on Klopp. That's football now, man. How many managers have lasted in a club that you know of for more than 5-6 years now? Pep's probably one of the only ones. Klopp, another one. Simeone? I don't think there's many. I'm getting it. It's not like 15, 20 managers now that last 7 or 8 years, is there? I don't think there is. I just think that's football now. So if we were to do it, if Liverpool were to do it, it wouldn't be like, whoa, shock, what are Arsenal doing? What are Liverpool doing? Because it happens everywhere now. So I think that's just the way it's going. Some people don't like it. I personally have never been one of these, keep the manager, whatever, 20 years, get him 20 years. I don't care who manages Arsenal as long as we're winning. So if we don't win, I don't really want the manager in. I want a bloke who's going to win. So let's hope that Arteta's that guy next season to win a something, because he does need a trophy, man. Because so far he's won an FA Cup with a team he didn't want. Since he's built the team, he ain't won anything. So he's got to bloody win something, man, next season for me. If it's a League Cup, an FA Cup, whatever it be, got to win something, man. You got to win a trophy. Can't keep jumping out of these trophies. It does my head in when every time we went out of one, a lot of the fan base accepts, that's okay. It's not okay. I hate it when we say that. Doesn't matter. That's what I kept calling it. Doesn't matter, FC. Doesn't matter we've gone out there. It's only the League Cup. It's only the FA Cup. You weren't saying that we were winning it. You know what I mean? It was an amazing achievement when we won it. When we go out of it, don't matter. So we can't do that, man. Next season, it's got to be big.
Some of these folks are the same folks that are triggered by a dog. I mean, the world we're living in.
That's about the club.
Win the dog. Jesus Christ. What's going on, man?
Poor dog.
What is happening?
Vinny and Vespa were really upset about that, by the way. Have you know the abuse that Win got? Let me just say,
dog out.
Win the dog out. Win the dog. That one's got to be up there with playing the speakers never walk alone. That one for me. But
but we all loved it. Listen, the light bulb, all of that stuff. Everyone went cuckoo and was like, "What is this insanity from this wannabe professor?" But let me tell you something. Some of the best leaders I've worked with are really quirky, and that some think they're geniuses and some are not. But let me tell you, he's a tall person. He's that guy. So we all fell in love with it a little bit, didn't we? Let's be honest. After All or Nothing, everyone was like, "Wow, I thought we were going to be humiliated," but we were not at all.
It was as if they did it on purpose, wasn't it? They put those 3 in first to just laugh and just take the mick. It was just embarrassing how bad they were. And then the middle three was like, oh, at least they weren't embarrassing. And the last three, it was like, do you know what? I thought these were going to be the three that I was going to hate the most. But actually, I enjoyed the last three more than the middle three and the first three, to be fair. And I actually would have loved to have seen another season this season. Like, I think it would have been incredible to watch.
No, I think we would have. That would have been a little bit too much. 2 seasons in a row to watch it.
Well, yeah, maybe we should have gone for this season, not last season. But there we go.
Have you watched the last episode yet, Lee? Of last season?
No, still have not seen the last episode.
Oh, Lee, can't do it, can he? Can't do it.
When we're successful, I look at it like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair play, man. Fair play. Just a quick one for a laugh. Who is gonna go down this season, Lee Judges, in the Prem?
I think the three now. I think like Everton will win their last game of the season, and that will send Leeds and Leicester down. I think Leicester needed to win today. Got a point, which is a good thing. It keeps them very much in it. But I think that Everton being at home last game of the season, that goal in the 98th or the 99th minute, I think is going to be like the saving. Yeah, it's going to be the one that keeps them up, like, you know. And dare I say it, like, you know what I mean, that you know, I'm pleased that West Ham to a certain degree, not so much really, because they've been a bit horrible to us lately, but certainly Nottingham Forest, they've kept their managers, and that's one of the reasons that they've stayed. And you know, like Leeds would never have been in this state if they'd have kept Jesse Marsh. I'm telling you, like, you know what I mean. So
I agree with that.
And I'm pretty sure Brendan Rodgers would have got Leicester out as well. You know what? Leeds United give us probably one of the toughest games of the season at Ellen Road.
And then one of the easiest.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then one of the easiest. Exactly that, like, you know. If they'd have played like that at Ellen Road for most of the season, they'd have been all right, like, you know what I mean? So, criminal, funny things in football. I think Brendan Rodgers would have kept Leicester up. I do believe that. But
I think Jesse Marsh was taking Leeds one place, and that was the Championship. He was dire. But Javi Gracia, why did you get him, man? Like, Sam Allardyce,
you think March was worse than Gracia? No.
No.
I mean, he was terrible as well. My point was, if you're going to get Sam Allardyce in, you can't give him 4 games. You've got to give him more than 4.
No, I should. If I was going to bring him in here, but I actually didn't think Leeds were in danger of getting relegated.
Yeah, I thought Leeds. It was between Leeds or Everton for me. I didn't think Leicester with that squad would be down there, but a lot of people did. But Leeds, mate, they can't defend. And like, whether it was Bielsa, Marsh, or Gracia, they couldn't defend. So if you're going to get Sam Allardyce in, you've got to do it earlier.
Do you know the one team that I had definitely going down? And it's been
Bournemouth.
I had Southampton going down from that, but Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I thought that
Gary O'Neill.
They were doomed as far as I was concerned.
Honestly.
That is an amazing achievement from them. I have to say that. Like, and I'm pretty sure Everton, Leicester, Leeds all looked at that and said, like, oh, well, Bournemouth will go down.
Yeah, it's going to be one of us, but Bournemouth and Southampton down. Yeah.
And it's not happened, you know what I mean? So all credit to Bournemouth, all credit to Forest, you know what I mean? What an atmosphere, by the way, on Saturday. I've never experienced, I've been going football a long time. That's the best atmosphere an away game that I've experienced.
Go Newcastle, Lee.
Yeah, and that was fantastic.
Oh, that was unbelievable.
Now, the thing is with Newcastle, you was in the press, I take it, like, we're up in the gods, so you don't really hear it as much.
Really, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, it did. That was fantastic, and there was a definite good feeling there. But Nottingham Forest, I thought was unbelievable. I know they turned the old music up loud, and it's probably a little bit closer, but what an atmosphere that was!
Yeah,
you know, three sides bouncing, and above us as well. Like, if you have a look, you couldn't see it down from where you was. Where we was a little bit further forward.
I was out the sun, mate. I was bloody hot apparently in the sun.
Yeah,
I was out. And I was in the shade bit.
All right, I should have come up with you. I think. Like,
our away fans deserve an award.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, our away fans have been amazing.
I selfishly want Everton to go down because Leeds have a nicer press box than Everton. So that's the only reason.
I want Leeds to stay up because I think it's good for the Prem that they're in it, and I love Ellen Road. I think it's quality. So yeah, I want that. And
it's out of Leeds and Everton. It's pick who you want. I
have to be careful what I say here.
Yeah, I'll go in Everton. Come on, Everton.
Yeah, sorry, Kev.
Kev's doing that game, by the way. He's going to be
I
on
said
the
Everton will go down.
sideline.
That was my hybrid squad prediction. Everton will go
Yeah.
down. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. So, what do you reckon? Everton stay up?
I think Everton will pull it off.
Right.
I think they'll I think they can grind it out better than Leeds. You know, they have to punch their way out of it on the day. So yeah, and I hope Inter Milan win the Champions League, and I hope Manchester United beat Manchester City in the FA Cup, just to teach them a little bit that old money's still good money in some ways.
Fair play, man. It's going to be a great last. To be fair, everything else is pretty much sorted in it. The title, the top four, even Tottenham know they're coming eighth probably. It's that relegation battle down the bottom that's going to be the one towards the last game of the season. And Forest, fair play. I mean, I must say, I couldn't really see most of the game because I had two bald heads sitting together, shining in my eyes. Lee and Julian, literally down in front of me. I could see the sun bouncing off their bonds.
Yeah, your sunglasses on your shit.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
But,
I'll tell you what, just finally, can I just ask this question? Did you ever envision that Tottenham would become eighth? You know what I mean? All the stick they give us for coming eighth. Did you ever think that this season, if someone
copying us, mate, they're
you,
looking at what we do and just trying to match us. That's what it is.
I'm not being over. If you'd have said to me at the beginning of the season, Spurs will come eighth this season, I'd have said, God, they're going to have to explode to be. It's bad, isn't it?
I mean, their capitulation has been a delight. Them and Chelsea, you know, and also we've been the butt of their jokes for so long. Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United. If anything, Arsenal fans, just enjoy. Why can't you enjoy that? I know we didn't win the league, and people want to call us bottlers and chokers, but football is also about the rivalry. And for the first time in years, we battered all of them. Okay, you know what? Even that away, I was at Old Trafford away. That was so much. The fans set the precedent that day. We lost 3-1, but it was one of the best losses I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and the atmosphere was incredible. And I think we've overcome a lot of obstacles this season. And so I hope fans can find some silver linings. Of course, we all want to win, but enjoy the fact that Tottenham and Chelsea have been absolute rubbish this season. Milk it for every second you can.
We've been so relevant again, and they hate it. Like I do shows with all football fans now, and I went on to Matisse's channel today with Lawless, who's a West Ham fan, Tobes, who's Tottenham, and Matisse, who's Chelsea. And they're all cracking up laughing at me. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you three laughing at? Like, Chelsea are absolutely in the mud is an understatement, right? Tottenham are a laughing stock and a circus at the top of the board, and owners, keep them there. Please don't go, Levy. You stay put. Stay exactly where you are, doing a great job.
Well,
and
they
West
don't
Ham,
care. That's all I get from them. We don't care. Well, why are you walking out the ground then, like, if you don't care, like, you know what I mean? Like, why do you want to leave you out if you don't care?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And West Ham have got a chance to save a little bit of their season with their Europa Conference crap thing, whatever it is. But the rest of them, oh my God, don't even talk to me. You know, Lawless actually said he was going to sing "We Are Champions of Europe" if they win that. I mean, that is shameless. That is shameless.
Oh my days. That's like saying you're champions of England by winning the Carabao Cup. That's what that is.
Yeah, it is basically like sweeping the trophy in it. Do you know what I mean?
I
hope they win it. I hope they win it.
Something's happened to your mic, Tom.
Yeah, you're like a Dalek, Tom. I hope they don't win it at all. I hope they go out to Fiorentina. I can't stand their fan base.
I want them all to lose. I want City to lose.
So do I, Soph. Yeah,
it's the less of two evils in the FA Cup. So I'll take the most evil of the two evils, which for me is United, because I just can't. I want to be able to tell City fans they bottled it. That's all I want. That will be
the only thing, though, Soph, I will say, and I reminded this. There's a lad I know at the Arsenal camp at the Emirates having a drink against Brighton. This was, and he went, "Don't mad, Dan. I'll see you at Wembley." And I went, "Oh, mate, no worries." I thought, what's he mean?
Oh, the Charity
Shield.
Oh,
yeah, we'll be going to Charity Shield, won't we, if Man City win the FA Cup? So we will be there at Wembley in the first day of the season against Man City, potentially. But yeah, there we go.
One of those Spurs now, then. You know
I know. Well, that was him, not me, to be fair. But yeah, I didn't think about it. He reminded me, and I thought, oh yeah, because it was also down about
more money.
I would love to finish Spurs off completely by pulling a Sol Campbell and signing Harry Kane, just to finish them off completely.
What would Lee Judges do? What would he do?
Wow,
he don't celebrate when they score against Arsenal. I hate him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I guarantee you, if he did go to Arsenal, right,
they'd be finished.
Sitting here now, there'd be a load of Spurs fans that wouldn't be cheering if he scored for England. I'm telling you that now.
It would
Facts.
finish them, and that would be a delight.
It would be. It would be. We're going to finish there as well. Tom Canton, what a legend you are, sir. Thank you so much for jumping on.
guy.
Rodigard,
now.
thank you so much, mate. How can people follow you, bro?
Am I sounding okay? Can you hear me?
Oh my word, we
Is
got
Skegness
we
is
got
playing
music.
the old
Yeah, you
dodgy
can
80s.
music
no
like-
time apparently. We're music now. Go follow the Gooner Talk. Go follow the Highbury Squad. Make sure you've liked and subscribed on Lead Judges TV. Make sure you do the same to my channel, please. Football's 12th Man Podcast. We'll see you next time. Up the Arsenal. Take care. We're out.